It's fair to say that there are far too many AI-based applications out there now for photographers and videographers that are designed to improve and speed up your workflow. So my intention is to take some photographs and video from this shoot that I'm going to do right now and then whack them into some AI tools to see if they can speed up my workflow from an editing and processing perspective and actually do some things to the video and photographs that I typically wouldn't do myself. It might improve things and make my life a lot easier.
The next AI app I'm going to use is one on the web, and it's called runwayml.com. There are a number of plans available for this, but I'm using the free one. If we look at this free plan tab here, you've got 3 video projects. You can only do 720p exports, and you've got limited Magic AI tool options. Obviously, if you do the $12 a month, and you get a lot more. But for the purposes of this test, I want to see if I can slow down some footage. Now, Topaz AI, as I mentioned before, is my tool of choice for slowing down footage. It's been pretty good, but I'm going to give this other one a chance as well, because this is a free AI tool. Topaz AI you have to actually purchase. Let's see how well this one does. So in here, there's a lot of AI magic tools, and I'm going to find the one that allows me to do super slow motion. So let's click on that. And I'm going to drop one of the pieces of video that I created. We'll come back to it once it's uploaded. So once it's uploaded, you get the option to change the speed, process that, and export. That's about it. Now you can just play back what this looks like, how it was originally shot, and it was shot in S-Log3. That's why it's flat. I just wanted to create a slow motion of this, just to put it through its paces. So let's hit process. It's set to 0.52. I might want to be slower, so let's do 0.04. Whoops, 0.04. And let's process that. So it's going to give you the option to toggle between the original and the processed one. It's already done it, so it's pretty quick, because obviously it's all in the back end. It's not relying on your compute power to process this. And so it's rendered. So let's play that now at slow motion. That isn't too terrible, and that is at 0.4. And if we toggle to the original, you can see what that looks like. Toggle back to processed, and that's what the processed video looks like. It's pretty good, actually. I mean, there's not a ton of artifacting. I would expect lots of artifacting when you're slowing down stuff like this. So let's go crazy. Let's slow it down to 0.2 and process. Now again, all this work is done at the back end. It's not on your machine. So all we're waiting for is the previewed version, and boom, it's pretty quick. So let's go back. Don't care about the volume. It's obviously downloading that. So let's play that. That's pretty impressive, right? I'm quite impressed with that, actually. So I'm going to export it, and then we'll use it in the project at the end, and then we'll now compare that to Topaz AI. Okay, so here we are with Topaz AI. We're going to use the same clip that you've seen in Runway and put this through its paces on Topaz. Now keep in mind that the difference between this app and the one we've just been looking at is Runway is AI based in the cloud. So all the processing is done at the back end, no processing on your computer. With Topaz AI, it's an application that runs on your Mac or your PC, and therefore all the processing power is within your machine itself. So the rendering time, the processing time, and all that type of workflow is going to be dependent on how fast your machine is. But with that said, let's see what happens when we try and slow down the same footage in Topaz. So we'll go through the same process. Let's select a preset, and we'll do 8 times super slow motion. Boom. And we're going to have it in the same format. I'm going to let the application pick the best interpolation and AI model for the actual footage. I found that this works the best. You can tweak this, you can change the different type of model, and it does explain in the documentation what these types of models are best used for, but I'm allowing it to choose what it thinks is the best model for this video. So let's do a preview. It's going to take some time, obviously, and we'll come back to it once it's generated.
Moments later.
I'm going to keep obviously the same frame rate and resolution as the original. and let's do a preview playback. This is only a few seconds. I think that's obviously better than Runway ML. So let's export this file and put it into our main video, and we'll compare the two side by side. Now obviously one's going to be in 4K full resolution and the other one is only in 720p, but the point is it's about how stable and how beautifully buttery smooth that footage is. So comparing these two side by side, you can see Topaz AI on the left, and that's at full resolution, full 4K, and on the right we have Runway ML, that in this version the export was only 720p. Now they both are fantastic. I think Runway ML for a free tool is great, but if I had to choose, I would still stick with Topaz AI. For me, the quality of the export and the way that you can slow this down even further, you can go crazy with Topaz, means it's just better quality overall.
We all have to shoot in varying circumstances, and this is no exception. You can hear, hopefully, right now, that there's a lot of noise, wind noise, circular saw or sander noise, and I'm just wondering if AI could potentially get rid of that. That's a big issue when you're recording video, right? Fix it in post. That's what they used to say.
All right, so for the next test, we're going to go back to Runway ML, and we're going to try and remove some unwanted background noise. As you heard in the clip before, there was a circular saw or something going on in the background as I was trying to talk. So let's see if we can use the clean audio workflow here within Runway to see if it will clean up this noisy video. So let's upload it and we'll come back once it's been done.
Moments later.
All right, so let's kick this off. I've uploaded the video that has got the noisy audio, so let's play it and see what it sounds like without any noise isolation.
We all have to shoot in varying...
All right, so you get the picture. Typically have to shoot in outdoors and yeah, lots of noise that's uncontrollable. So let's hit the clean audio button and it's going to do a little bit of processing. Again, all done on the back end, nothing for us to wait for here. Let it chug away a little bit. I'll come back to it when it's done. All right, so here's the processed video. Took a little bit longer than I expected. In fact, it took longer to process the audio than it did to stabilize the footage in a previous test. Never mind that. Let's see what it sounds like.
We all have to shoot in varying circumstances, and this is no exception. You can hear, hopefully, right now, that there's a lot of noise.
So for me, there's quite a lot of artifacting in there. I did a recent video, link up here, of comparing Final Cut Pro's voice isolation with some plugins that you can also buy. And for me, this particular voice isolation, how it's been treated, has too many artifacts for me. I don't think it's terribly, I mean, it's usable, of course, but from a professional environment, I wouldn't want to use it in any of my client work or anything like that. So let's go back and toggle to the original. So this is what it sounded like without any isolation.
We all have to shoot.
Okay, and then if I toggle back to the clean audio.
We all have to shoot in varying circumstances.
I mean, it's got rid of the background noise and you can still hear a little bit of the circular saw in the background. But for me, I think Final Cut Pro or some additional plugins would do a better job. And I keep in mind, I have to keep telling myself this is free. So I'm not paying for anything right now, but if you have Final Cut Pro, then you also don't have to pay for any of the voice isolation configuration in that because that's also built in. Now there are no tweaks to this. So as you can see here, I've got two options. I can toggle and I can save it to my assets. So I'm going to use the same file, pop it into Final Cut and see what it does. All right, so here I am in Final Cut. So as we heard before, this is the original audio.
We all have to shoot in varying circumstances.
All right, so I'm going to just apply the built-in noise isolation, and it's basically here. You go to the audio settings, voice isolation. We'll leave it at 50%. It doesn't take very long at all to render. And then let's play this back and see what it sounds like.
We all have to shoot in varying circumstances, and this is no exception. You can hear, hopefully, right now.
So that's what
there's
it
a lot
off.
of noise, wind noise, circular saw or sander noise.
So I'm going to just modify this to 70%. You don't want to go too high because you'll get the artifacting, as you heard in the other version, but let's try this.
We all have to shoot in varying circumstances, and this is no exception. You can hear, hopefully, right now, that there's a lot of noise, wind noise, circular saw or sander noise. And I'm just wondering if AI could potentially get rid of that. That's a big issue when you're recording video.
So I think 60% voice isolation within Final Cut Pro is probably better than the free tool online. Now, there are going to be others coming out that are going to be much better. There's a ton of AI apps out there, too many to choose from. For me personally, I'd go for the voice isolation in Final Cut Pro over the free version of that particular tool. So the next workflow is let's try and stabilize some footage. And for this, I'm going to use Sony's own Catalyst Browse software. You can download this from their website. It's completely free of charge. And essentially, it uses the metadata contained within the video file to make a best estimate of how it's going to analyze and stabilize this footage. And in previous instances of where I've used this, it works quite well. Now, obviously, there's going to be a crop, because what it's going to do is try and work out all the geodata in the file and make the best use of stabilizing it. So let's take a look at how well it does with this dodgy, shaky clip. You first have to analyze the clip, and then it's going to take a look. And as you can see here, it's done a very quick job of analyzing. And on the left is the original shaky footage, and on the right, obviously, there's going to be a crop. So if we play through that real quick, you can see from the left how shaky it is, and on the right, it's done a pretty good job. There are some little artifacts. You can see some jitters in the background, and I think there's a way that we can make that a little bit better. So let's just pause this for a second. At the moment, it was set to completely auto. So if I go to manual, we can see how much we want to crop. The more we crop, the better the stabilization. But obviously, if we crop too much, then we're going to lose all context of the video. So there's not a huge amount of tweaking you can do with this particular software. So if I leave it back to auto, it's done a reasonable job of basically cropping in. And if I just squeeze it up a little bit more, maybe we might get better results. So let's just take a look at that again. So I'll play through. You can still see some jitters here in the background, but this is pretty shaky. So if I set it back to auto, leave it as is, I think I'm quite happy. I mean, it's usable, right? At the end of the day, it's what you determine to be usable within the video that you're creating. But I wouldn't be too miffed at using this video for a short clip, as it is anyway, in my setup. So from a workflow perspective, Catalyst Browse, a couple of clicks, and boom, it stabilized the video very well using all the metadata contained within the Sony video file. For those of you who haven't used or seen Topaz Video AI before, essentially it's a tool that has a number of different presets in it. You can slow your footage down, you can convert 24 frames per second to 60, you can upscale to 4K from 1080. There's a huge amount of amazing workflows in this product, and I've used it mainly for slowing down footage, for upscaling old videos from 720 to 1080 to even 4K, to clean up some of the images, denoise, all that kind of stuff. I haven't really used it in anger. For stabilizing footage, I typically stabilize my footage directly either in Final Cut Pro or DaVinci or Catalyst Browse, as you've seen previously in this video. So from what I've seen, it's not that fantastic, so I'm not holding out much hope for this particular clip, but let's give it a chance. In the menu at the top here, there are a number of presets that you can select. I'm just going to choose the auto crop stabilization, and what that means is it's going to crop in like Catalyst Browse did for when it's actually trying to stabilize the video, because obviously it's got to punch in a bit, it's got to work out how to stabilize, look at all the jittery movements. So there's going to be a crop every time you use this type of software. However, there is another method here where you can select full frame, and what that's going to do is actually fill in, using AI, some of the video that's obviously going to be moved around and needs to be added as part of the stabilization process. For me, it's not worked out terribly well, especially footage like this. You're going to get some artifacting, you're going to get some cloud, sort of like blurry views down at the bottom here. So I'm just going to select this auto crop stabilization. I'm going to keep the strength of 50, rolling shutter correction on, and that's it. That's all I'm going to do right now. Now, in the interest of time, I'm just going to preview this. Once it's finished its preview, which is, I'm actually going to set it for 5 seconds. Once it's finished, we'll come back and we'll take a look at what it's done.
Moments later.
All right, so that's finished. The first one took actually 1 minute 23 seconds to render. This is just a render, by the way. This is the 5-second render. That's what it's doing right now. And then this one took 38 seconds. So again, let's just zoom out by using the mouse wheel, if there's such a thing. And there's no distortion on my face. It's squished things up a bit, even though the strength was 100%. And let's just play through this preview. So, I mean, you can see it's not good. I'm not sure what it's doing. There's not a ton of settings you can do here. If I uncheck the rolling shutter and reduce jittery motions, I mean, this could take a long time because obviously it's going to run through this process to reduce jittery motions. So it's already on 2 passes. If I do it to 4, this may take some time to preview. So I'll do the preview just for 2 seconds. I'll hit the preview button, and once it's finished, I'll come back and I'll see if the reduce jittery motions has any effect on the overall image. For now, if I was to try and use this with my video, I don't like it. I wouldn't bother. I would probably leave even the jittery clip if I had no other choice to use instead of that one, because the jittery motion and the wavy in the background, that jello effect, is far too distracting for me. All right, we'll wait and see how long this takes, and we'll come back. The last attempt now with Topaz Video AI. I've set the strength to 50 as we said before. We've done a 4 pass on reduce jittery motions. This is the preview. The preview took 4 minutes 4 seconds. Let's play. Now we've got this cloudy, I don't know what's happening. So if you guys know what's going on with Topaz Video AI stabilization mode here, and why I can't get a decent stabilization out of it, please let me know in the comments below. But I'm going to take a look, I think, on the website at some point and find out why I'm not getting decent results with this. Okay, so Topaz Video AI is a big bust.
All right, so I don't think AI is going to fix overexposure. It's not going to fix, well, certain things, particularly for video, but for the photographs, I think we might have a fighting chance here. I deliberately took some photographs with power lines in the way because I know that some of the AI tools today can remove power lines quite successfully. Let's see.
All right, so here we are in Lightroom. Now, by all means, I'm not a Lightroom expert. I'll just use Lightroom to tweak the photographs that I'm editing to get them to a starting point. As you can see, it's massively underexposed with regards to me as the subject, but the background is pretty decent. So let's take a look at what we can do first with this. What I would tend to do is do auto tone to start with, which will bring up the exposure to an extent, and then I will tweak it a little bit more from an exposure perspective just to start bringing it up. It's still not terrible here in the back with regards to the white, so I'll bring the highlights down a little bit more. I can also adjust the shadows a little bit to make it look a little bit more contrasty. I'm still a little bit too dark in this photograph, but what we can do is do a couple of tweaks with some AI masking. So if we click on the mask tool here, you've got the option to select the background, the sky, or the subject. It's already detected me as a person, so I'm going to click on this first. And here you've got a number of options. Within the mask for the person, you can select the entire person, as we've got here, or you can start selecting different components of the subject and focus your attention on color correcting and changing exposure on that. So I'm going to do a couple of masks. I'm going to create one here for the entire person first. I'm going to bring up the exposure just on me. Don't want to go too far because obviously you get all this fringing around the hair and stuff. So I'm just going to bring that down as an overall change. And as you can see, subtlety is key. So it's just a subtle change of exposure, and that's already looking a little bit better. I'm going to add a second mask and then go on to select people. And then from there, we'll select the person again. But this time I'll do my facial skin, my body skin. I think I'll do my eyebrows, the eye area, and then the iris and pupils and lips. But I'm going to leave the hair and the clothes unselected. So right now it's just going to be these components. So if I create a mask here, I can then start to tweak the exposure a bit further. As you can see here, it's just doing the face, woo, and the skin, but I'm just going to tweak it just a little bit. Again, subtlety is key if you look before and after. So it's already starting to look a little bit better. I can change the contrast a little bit more, maybe on the shadows. Don't want it to look too artificial. It's already fringing a little bit on the hair. So if I go to the second mask, the first mask, sorry, and bring that down a little bit. I mean, that's not awful. I could probably live with that. In fact, we could probably bring up the overall exposure again for the entire photograph. So right now I've just unselected. You can bring up the exposure a bit more. I mean, it's not terrible. You could then adjust your tone curve, or you could even bring in a preset and further color correct, or even take it into another application like Luminar Neo, for example. So there you go. That's a quick way of editing a very underexposed photograph within Adobe Lightroom. And please let me know if there's a better way to do this. As I said, you guys are the experts, so leave a comment below if you can tell me how to do it better than I'm doing it right now. It is truly an interesting time with regards to AI-based applications that are coming out. You can see these images here that were created just from putting them through Luminar Neo, for example. I mean, there's so many presets, there's so many ways that you can enhance your photographs really with minimal effort. A couple of clicks and you can get great results. It's clearly time to embrace and use AI to help us with our workflows, make our lives a bit easier, and also have some fun on the way. We all want to save some time, right? So why not let these applications work for us for a change? I'd be really interested to know what types of AI tools you use within your workflows, whether you're a videographer, photographer, content creator, doesn't matter what you are. Let me know. I'd be happy to have a play with some of them. You can give me some tips and tricks. And as I said, if there's any better ways of doing what I did in Lightroom, give me a shout out. Take it easy. See you in the next video.